Well, folks, we're going to talk about today is doing things the right way. Doing things the right way. Think about that. Now, integrity is doing the right thing because, and only because, it's the right thing to do. There's no excuses and there's no exceptions. Now, when you grow up on the wrong side of the tracks, your integrity is really all you have. That's my next guest story. Let's meet him. My guest today is my friend, Ruben Mercado. Now, Ruben served in the United States Army. He was a telecommunication operator. And after completing his tour of duty, his goal was to finish school, become an accountant. But the universe had different plans. So Ruben is a contributing author to my book, just released book, Business Secrets from the Battlefield to the Boardroom. It was released on March 29th. It's available on Amazon. Go get it. Now, this is a book by veterans, by their parents, by children, by spouses and supporters. These are their stories in their own words. You need to get this book, folks. Ruben, welcome to Life Altering Events.
Thank you, Frank. Great to be here.
It's always a pleasure, my friend. So, Ruben, tell us a little bit about where you were born, your pre-military life, what led you to going into the military.
Gladly. I was born in Galveston, Texas, back in 1966, seems generations ago. And we grew up in a very modest home, had two hardworking parents who were my role models. And we went through a lot of trials and tribulations. Went to school in various cities between my kindergarten year and my high school year, from Houston down to Brownsville to McAllen and back to Houston again. We worked hard. We were the unpaid workers for my parents, so they had a very good workforce.
Yeah, that tends to happen.
Absolutely. And I quickly found out that this was not the life for me that I wanted as an adult, So when I was going to high school, I was in the ROTC program, and a lot of my senior friends, when I was a junior, were going off to the Marine Corps, to the Army that summer. And I got the bug, and I didn't want to wait till my senior year of high school. So I enlisted in the Army, where my parents had to sign for me because I was still 17 years old and very green, wet behind the ears. And so took off to the Army that summer between junior and senior, came back and finished high school and went back to do my specialty training, and was in the Army for 7 years, 3 years active and 4 years reserve. It was an awakening experience for me. It did give me a lot of discipline that I needed. I really did. I was good in the books, and I was able to get into the telecommunication operator position because of my grades, because of my math skills, because of my English skills that I had at the time, and so I was able to qualify for that position. And it was like I said, it taught me discipline, it taught me leadership, it taught me order, but it also showed me how to set a plan and get to that goal.
Exactly.
Which I found out later on in life that would become very, very necessary in order to get to where I am today.
Now, when we
went
spoke
to
earlier,
college. I'm sorry, go ahead.
When we spoke earlier a couple months ago, you had mentioned a lot of your friends were going to the Marines, and so that's what you wanted to be.
Yeah.
So you were going to go be a Marine. What happened? What happened when you tried to be a Marine?
Well, I didn't have the time. The boot camp training was longer than what that summer had between my junior and senior. I had to be back at a date to start my senior year in high school. So that didn't allow, that's why I went into the Army and not in the Marine Corps. Had I waited to go to the military after my senior year, I no doubt would have gone to the Marine Corps.
It's always interesting to see how the dynamics, life just, this is my plan, but life says, I don't think so. This is what's going to really happen.
They throw you a curveball, and it's just how you react to it. That's
exactly.
it.
Now, Ruben, when you were in the Army, you had to have a top secret security clearance. Now, for the people who haven't been through that process, I went through that. Share with the viewers what that's like. What do you go through that?
Wow, it's an interesting experience in my life. I do remember well, first off, top secret. Ooh, what are you going to be, James Bond or something like that, right? So no, not necessarily, but I did have a lot of my neighbors coming up to me. They were asking, "Hey, Ruben, what did you do?" I said, "What are you talking about?" "Well, I had these people from the government come in and asking me questions about you." I said, "What?" Then my light bulb turned on. I said, "No. That's just the background that they're doing on me to get me a top secret clearance because I'm going to the military, which this position requires to me to have that clearance." So that was quite interesting to see how the government actually does go out there and do their homework before they get the personnel that they want in the proper positions.
When I went through it with mine, I was shocked. Again, little league coaches and teachers, neighborhood kids. It was intense.
It was
pretty
intense.
But you passed it with flying colors, and you spent your time in the Army. Now you get out of the military as active duty, and you wanted to go be an accountant because, as you mentioned, you were very good with numbers, and this was the way your mind worked. So what happened? You started back to school. What happened?
Fantastic. So one of the things that the military provided also was some monies to go to college, and so I went to the University of Houston downtown, and I was in all my mind and my preparation was I was going to be a CPA. I'd worked in the bank when I was in my freshman and junior and sophomore year in college. And so it was getting me all geared up for that and whatnot, and after the second year of college, the funds ran out. So it was either, eat books or eat food, and I don't have too much of a taste for books, so I had to drop out. Unfortunately, I completed 60 hours of college credits, and I had to get into the workforce, and I've always been an entrepreneur. So I was always looking for positions of being paid by commissions, and we had a lot of ups and downs, and I had some pretty good successes on several of the positions that I took. But it was, I'll tell you what, it was a lot of the failures that taught me more than the successes to finally get the plan that I eventually wrote back in 2014, something like that, for this particular company. I had started many other companies, sometimes with a plan, sometimes without. I will tell you the ones that without didn't last very long.
They don't do so well.
Yeah, they didn't. They really didn't, man. So with this one, I was very prepared with a position that I had taken with an advocacy group here in Houston that represents minority contractors. And I looked at it as taking an internship with that particular organization. The National Association of Minority Contractors is a nationwide organization with various chapters throughout the United States. And I was their executive director for a year and a half. And that year and a half, I was able to help our members get over $500 million of contracts. So my light bulb turned on. I said, okay, you know what? I need to get back into this business, So wrote a plan. I started a company with a partner that didn't last very long. It lasted a year. My partner and I, we just didn't connect correctly. And so I made the decision to go on my own in 2015. I opened Ipsum General Contractors, which is the logo you see behind me. Right there.
There it is.
And so it's, we've been in business. This May will be 8 years. And we've had our trials and tribulations as well. But I'll tell you what, man, now we're on the right path. It's been challenging, but we've been able to meet the challenges. We've been able to get the right people in place. We've been able to work with the right subcontractors in place. And through the organization that I still belong to, we still, we help others come up so that they can be successful as well.
Absolutely. You always do better when you help someone else.
You know what? If I can say something about that, Frank, I want to tell you that, I had an epiphany back in, I don't know, I really couldn't tell you when, but there was a point in my life where it was all about me and my family. And that's it. I didn't care about anybody else. I didn't want to know about anybody else. I didn't want to help anybody else except me and my family. Right. And to one of the failures that I had back then, I don't know what happened, man. But one day I woke up and I said, you know what? It's time to start helping others. And you know what? one thing led to another. I joined this organization back when I was the executive director, and I focused more on helping other companies and other folks, and things just really started turning around. Some events would happen for our company that was like, wow, really, this happened? It's blessings. It's blessings. You help somebody and you get it back tenfold. You've heard that saying many a times, and man, I can't tell you how truthful that is. And I feel good now when people come and ask me for my advice, and they put me on a level that I don't think I need to be at. But it's humbling. It's very humbling, and it is much better to be someone that can help others than to be a selfish person. I will tell you that.
Absolutely.
From my personal experience.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that impresses me a great deal, Ruben, about you is that small companies in the construction industry have an enormously high failure ratio. How have you made all these adjustments and fine-tune this organization? You're incredibly successful. How did you do that?
So it's a challenge for not only small businesses in construction, but also restaurants. They have a very high failure rate in the first 2 years. Banks will not give you any loans. Believe me, I know that because I was asking for those in those first couple of years, because they see that you're going to fail. 80% of the time, these people fail in those first 2 years. So great question that you had. I had mentors. I had 2 mentors that took a shine to us, that believed in us. And I had a lot of questions. I would go to them, and they would help us out on that. They would guide us in the right direction. We started off with small contracts back then, and as we grew, one of the things that we would do, we would take risks, not any risks. We would take calculated risks. We would look at what the job is. We would we would analyze to see if we have the right personnel to be able to go after that job, and not get into something where we would be a failure, because failures, the news goes so much quicker than the good jobs.
Yes, it does.
Right. So by not just jumping into the deep end without doing your research, if you will, we did our own background checks, if you will. And little by little, we started coming out of our comfort zones and going after that bigger project. I remember seeing a $500,000 proposal, and I wouldn't even bother bidding on it because I knew I had no chance, that I couldn't even go after that. Now, that's a dime a dozen now for us. And I feel good that we can say that. At this point in time, I don't have to go after all the business anymore. I don't want to do all the business, Frank. There's too much business out there. I want to have a life. I want others to be able to go after some jobs like that, right? I can't do it all. Again, I don't want to do it all. But we do have a healthy amount of work. We do have quite a few subcontractors that we are keeping busy, and it was a challenge, but at Ipsum we were able to meet it, and we're still growing.
That's outstanding. When we spoke a couple months back, you had mentioned you sort of zeroed in and found a niche with tax-funded projects. Tell us a little bit about that.
So tax-funded projects basically means it's funded by the government, by some government entity, whether it's municipal, whether it's county, whether it's state, whether it's federal. So a lot of the business that we're doing right now revolves around multifamily housing for lower income families or whatnot. And so there's a lot of renovations going on in the greater Houston area. There's also a lot of new construction going on for affordable housing. I don't have to tell you right now how expensive it is out there in the world. We went out last night and I bought 20 buffalo wings, and I paid over $50 for this thing. I said, wow, how can the normal family go out there and take their family out? It was just me and my wife. Imagine a family of 4 going out there, and it's just unimaginable. But anyhow, I digress. There's a lot of work that we do for these government entities. It helps that we have our certifications. Not only a military-owned company, but also a small business enterprise. We're a minority business enterprise. We're what's called a DBE, a disadvantaged business enterprise, and all these all these certifications are just a program that gives the small business and minority owned contractor an opportunity to be able to go after these bigger projects and actually get awarded these contracts.
It's I learned that in the tech world is it just opens the door. Now you have to perform.
That's
And
correct.
once you perform, then the wheel starts turning again.
That's correct. I mean, just because you obtain your certification doesn't mean that you automatically get these projects. You have to be worthy of it. You have to show that you can be able to complete one of these projects. So it's like you said, perform well, you'll get the business. Not only do we get the business, but we get a lot of repeat business, which is the most important thing for Ipsum.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things I've heard about you, Ruben, is not every construction project goes perfectly. But when something occurs, you don't leave. What do you do? What do you do?
So that's an interesting point that you make, Frank. There's been studies of the failures or the redo, if you will, of construction projects is over 30%. 30%, Frank. That is no small potatoes right there.
Right.
And you know what? We've had our shares of mishaps in the construction industry. So one of the things that separates us from others is that we don't run away, or I don't run away and hope that it resolves on its own. We stick to it. We make it right. We make it happen. We finish it to the client's expectations and to pass inspections and all that. Whether we lose money or not, it happens. You know, I just recently did go through one of those projects last fall, and it was a bitter pill to swallow, but that was just a small portion of the entire project that we had. So in that particular scope, we did take a loss. However, it was balanced by the profits that we made on the other portions of that project. So we're still coming out positive on that. And at the same time, the client respects that we didn't just bail on them and just drug up and let someone else take care of it.
Absolutely. That goes back to the opening with integrity. It's something that, and I've heard this from several people when I was talking about you, is that they said, Ruben's always going to make it right. It doesn't matter what it takes. He is going to make it right. So that's great credit to you and to your organization.
Thank you very much.
And one of the things I ask every veteran, Ruben, is out of all the things that you learned in the Army, and you mentioned a few of them, if you had to say to someone, here's the single most important thing that I learned in the military, what would it be?
Respect. Know how to talk to others. You know, there's often times where I have, I'm not happy with one of my supervisors, or because the job wasn't done correctly or whatnot. The last thing you need to do is go out there and get after him in front of his men. They're my employees, but it's his man. It's his squad, if you will.
Yes.
You know, let's talk about military terms here. So I'm the general of this company. He's my captain. He's got his sergeant, and then he's got his soldiers out there. Well, you don't discipline the leader of that group, because that group now is going to lose respect for that leader, for their leader right there.
Yes.
And also, I think it would diminish their view of me as well, for being, how would I say, for getting after that leader in front of them, right? So I do always take them to the side and we talk. You know, I don't blow up. I used to blow up. I did. I used to blow up many years ago, but I've learned how to communicate better, whether it's good or for the bad. I learned how to communicate better so that the person I'm talking to doesn't feel that I'm disrespecting them. Now, there's still a lot of that, unfortunately, out in the construction industry, especially with the old time folks that have been out there for a while, that I run into every once in a while. And when that happens to me, I stop them. I say, hey, you know what? I think we need to slow down. I think we need to have a sit down with your boss, me and you, and let's get together and learn how to talk to each other. Because I don't like being disrespected. You know, I really don't. I don't disrespect you. Don't disrespect me. Another thing. I mean, I think that goes along with leadership, leadership styles. You know, I'm not a micromanager type of deal. I'm going to hire you because of your experience. We're going to go over the job scope, and here you go. Here are the keys. Go at it. If you have issues out there, call me. Call me with problems. But if you have problems, I need you to also tell me what that solution is. You tell me what that solution is. And I'm going to listen to that solution. And whether I agree with it or not, then we'll talk about it. You know, if I agree with it, fantastic. If I don't agree with it, I'm going to help you out with that, with the way I see it, right? But again, these are the guys, you have to take their solutions or their feedback into consideration, because they're the ones out in the field, not me. They are. They're the grunts, if you will. All right, to use a Marine Corps
exactly
term there, right? But yeah, that's the one thing that I instill in my guys, my leaders, my supervisors, is I don't have a problem. You come in with me with problems, but I have a solution, man.
Yes.
I want you to tell me, because you got the brains as well, and I hired you. You have these skills. Okay, so you come up with this barrier here. What's your solution?
The other thing I've heard about you, Ruben, is when you are laying out the plan, this is what we're going to do, and you've got people who had experience, and you ask them in the early stages, what do you think? What's the best way to do this? How do we put that together?
Absolutely. So when we get a new job, I sit down with the main players that I have in my team, my subcontractors, and we get all together and we lay out the scope of work that we have. And so each one who has the different scope or trade that they're going to be dealing with, we talk as a group to see, here's the work, here's the job, here's the scope of work, here's the time that we have to do this in. What's the ideal method to go after this, in your words, in your experience?
Mm-hmm.
I have one gentleman right now. We have a job that we're doing some excavation and installing some underground utilities. Well, this gentleman came in, and there were some issues over there with the water. When we got at a certain depth, the walls just started caving in because so much water down there, so much humidity down there, you know. And so he stopped. He got off the machine, came out, spoke to me. I was there at the time, and he said, "Ruben, let me give you some advice about, because I've seen this before. This has been my experience." I said, please do. You know, I'm not the one that knows it all. I'll never be the one that knows it all. If I ever know it all, Frank, I'm clocking out, because I'm going to be the worst person in the world. I don't like people who know everything.
That's right.
They don't. They really don't, man. They make it a very, very ugly person, unfortunately. But yeah, no, most definitely, we get the feedback from the guys out there that have experienced it, they have done the job already, and they're the experts at it. You know, my main goal as the general of this company is to go out and procure work. My guys, they don't like to see me out in the field, because if I'm out in the field, that means I'm not looking for work.
That's right.
Right. So luckily, you know, we've got plenty of work right now. We've got several projects going on, not only in Houston, but in Galveston and Beaumont, down in Corpus Christi. And for the foreseeable future, we see a lot more work coming to us, especially a lot of repeat business as well.
That's outstanding. Now, Ruben, we met through the Houston Region Veteran Chamber of Commerce, and the more I interact with that
Miranda, can you ask?
the more I see, why are they so special?
So, well, one is, you know, it represents us as veterans. You know, I saw David, the director of the Houston office, just a couple of days ago. Last week, Friday, we had a business expo for the National Association of Minority Contractors. And, you know, he showed me that day how committed he is to this organization, because when he saw me there, he came up to me right away. We took some pictures and whatnot. Then he introduced me to some vendors that we had there exhibiting that were veterans as well, and they were part of this organization, right? And immediately with two of them, we were able to make a good connection where I, Ipsum, can use their services for some of the work jobs that we're about to be awarded. So I think representation, advocacy for the group, for the veterans, and not only that, but also giving back to the community. We volunteer as far IPSA. We like to volunteer with several causes down here in Houston that help our community, that help the kids and whatnot. And we help folks that are sick, if you will, but also work in the community, helping out our seniors.
Yes.
We're going to be there pretty soon. I'm getting a lot of gray hair here under this cap. Okay, so it used to be jet black many years ago. I haven't seen jet black in quite some time, buddy. But I think it's important for any community, whether it's the veterans or the National Association of Minority Contractors or whomever, to have a component where you help the community. Not only do you help your members, but help the community as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Ruben, how do people get a hold of you?
Outstanding. Great. We're here in Houston, Texas. My number is 713-239-2356, as you see right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And my website is www.ipsumgc.com. And you can reach me at my personal email is rm, my initials rm, at ipsumgc.com. I would like to share my tagline with you, Frank. Every time we are doing a project, at the end of the project or at the end of a great event, we always say, like we do here at Ipsum, want some, get some, Ipsum. Have a great day.
Wow, that's great. I love that. I see it behind you there. That's amazing.
Yes.
Want some, get some, Ipsum.
Yes,
that's
sir.
Outstanding. Well, Ruben, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you again for this. It's an amazing interview. Every time I talk to you, I'm always impressed on how you do things the right way, and you make sure that everything gets done the right way. Now, folks, to see more of Ruben's story and several other veterans, military parents, spouses, etc., the book has been released, Business Secrets from the Battlefield to the Boardroom. You get it on Amazon. Go order it right now. You'll love this book. These are great stories. Now, you can see this show on ROKU TV or on my YouTube channel, which is also called Frank Zaccari. I keep things pretty simple. And I will send links to Ruben, and he'll post them in all the places that he puts out his information. If you use the YouTube channel, please subscribe. Now, let me leave you with this, folks. None of us are in this alone. And the secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. And today, Ruben showed us where many of those rocks are. Join me again next week for another life-altering event. Ruben, my friend, thank you again.
Thank you, Frank. Have a wonderful day and stay dry out in California, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.